I'm Aaron Miller. I am working on making CouchDB work in mobile platforms. Today we'll be talking about Android CouchDB. This webcast won't have too much interactive stuff or screencast stuff, but if you are an Android developer, you can go ahead and get the Android SDK if you don't have it, so you can follow along that part. I posted the link in the chat just in case you don't already have it, so you can go ahead and get set up with that before I get to it. But let's just get into this. So, short refresher on CouchDB or short intro for anybody who hasn't used CouchDB before, because I think there are a few in this cast. CouchDB is a non-relational database, and all the data in CouchDB is JSON. You store documents in CouchDB that are freeform, not rows like you would have in a relational database, and you create views of that database using JavaScript, which allows you to get to the data that you want in a fast or efficient manner. And all the communication with CouchDB is done over HTTP. So, why have CouchDB on a phone? CouchDB is a durable database, so because it's got an append-only file format, you don't have to worry about things getting corrupted if it gets killed or if you drop the battery out of your phone. And it's not the only database that does this, but this is something that is important to have if you have your database on a phone. If you write code or have written an app that uses CouchDB already, now that we have CouchDB on a phone, you can easily transition that app, make it a mobile app. Whenever your data is in a local CouchDB, instead of accessing it over the internet, it uses a lot less power, and it's a lot faster. I mean, nothing's faster than accessing localhost. And CouchDB has great replication, which is the same thing as sync, right? So we'll talk for a bit about why do we actually have, the whole full CouchDB written in Erlang on the phone. The Erlang VM isn't actually that heavyweight. It was originally written for telephone switching systems that weren't huge computers but had to be highly concurrent. Erlang came from the telecom industry. And you might think that having another entire VM on the phone might be bad for memory usage, but every Android application actually runs in a separate instance of the Android Dalvik virtual machine. So that's not something that doesn't already happen on the phone, and we're pretty competitive on memory usage with some other services that run on Android phones by default. We're not much more than, say, the Google Voice service. I think we're less than the keyboard service. And because CouchDB on Android phones is an Android service, multiple apps can use it at the same time. So you can have several apps using CouchDB. They don't instantiate multiple CouchDBs, so there's only that much memory being used for however many apps you have using CouchDB on your phone. So the best thing about CouchDB on a phone, I think, is CouchDB's replication, which means that synchronization with whatever internet platform you have is built into the database instead of you having to write this in your application. So you can do all sorts of replication models with CouchDB because it's multi-master. You can replicate any way you want. So it's really easy to replicate, from the phone to the internet, or do filter replication and replicate a subset of your database on the internet down to your phone. Really easy to do that with multiple phones. So you have multiple users and they're all kept in sync. One cool thing you can do with CouchDB is actually sync from separate databases into a single database. So if you have a mobile app that connects to multiple user accounts that can replicate and combine those on the phone, or multiple services even, that's something that's possible with CouchDB replication. And what's more awesome is that whenever you get disconnected from the internet, and this is something that happens all the time on phones, you have your data and you access it the exact same way that you would access it if it was online. So you can continue to work. So if you want to install CouchDB on your phone, you'll have to get it from the Android market. If you search for CouchDB on the Android market, you'll see two results. CouchDB, the Definitive Guide ebook for Android phone, and the CouchDB Developer Alpha by me. You, of course, want the CouchDB Developer Alpha. You could get the book on your phone, but it's really small. Get the book in real life. It's a totally awesome book. Then you'll need the Android SDK to do. You don't necessarily need the Android SDK, but it allows you to do some really useful things if you have your phone hooked to your computer. Once you get the application, you'll need to actually open it once and hit a button that says Update CouchDB. That'll actually download all the binaries that the application consists of and let it finish installing. And then you're ready to rock. Get the little console here that has a Start CouchDB button. And I'm going to do a screencast in a second. So we'll just go through setting up CouchDB and replicating a mobile Couch app on the phone. One thing is Android SDK's ADB tool allows you to interact with Android phones in several ways. One thing that you can do is type ADB logcat, and then you get a view of all the logs of the phone and actually log to this logging facility. So whenever I start CouchDB on the phone, we'll actually see logs from CouchDB. So we can see the started. The useful thing to be able to do is forward CouchDB's port from the phone to the computer. So ADB forward takes on your computer as the first parameter, and the port that you're forwarding from the phone is the second. CouchDB always runs on port 5984, so that will always be the second parameter, and the first parameter should be a port that is free on your computer. So now that we can have that, we can talk to the CouchDB that's running on our phone from the computer. So see that I'm talking to CouchDB on Android phone that I can open up in our web browser here. Pull the Futon interface. Another Android tool that is useful is the Android Debug Monitor. So you can view processes running on your phone and phones. So you can see what's on my phone's screen right now, the CouchDB console. So let's go ahead and pull up the couchapp.org Focus application. So this is the demo copy of jChris's Focus app, which is a task management app. And we can replicate this to our Android CouchDB using the replicator. So we'll create a new Focus database on the phone. I have to log in as admin before you create databases. And then go to the replicator, put in the URL of the database we want to replicate. And because we are replicating the Couch app, I need to replicate the design doc. We'll put the authentication credentials and access the local database as if it were a remote database. We'll check continuous so that we always get updates, and click replicate. Always want to replicate in both directions, so we'll click the reverse button and then click the button again. And in the status screen, we see that replication is now actions. Hello? Everybody hear me? Okay. So now we have the Focus app replicating to the phone. And this is actually running off the phone, and I can pull it up on the phone and then use DDMS to show you the phone screen. Someone asked if this is Android greater than or equal to 2.1. Right now, we only work on Android 2.1 and up. So if I add stuff to the Focus app on the internet, it should replicate to the Focus running on my phone. There it is. Okay, waiting for the slides to come back up here. And I lost. Oh, no, didn't lose my place. Got it. Okay. So if you want to use CouchDB with the Android SDK, there are two commands that are really useful, which are ADB logcat, which allows you to watch the CouchDB logs if you're having any errors with CouchDB when you're using it. This is the best way to figure out what's going on. And if you're going to file a bug report, those logs are really nice for me to have. So ADB logcat. And ADB forward will let you forward the port that CouchDB is using on the phone to your computer, so you can work with CouchDB on your phone just like you would work with CouchDB anywhere else. And we just went through replicating a Couch app from the internet to your phone. So some things that aren't quite done yet, but will be soon, is actually being able to use CouchDB as an Android service from other apps. This is not committed to Git yet, but it's already working. You can bind to the Android CouchDB service from your Android app natively, and the Android operating system will keep track of what apps are using CouchDB and keep it on when apps are using it and shut it off when apps aren't using it automatically. Working on deeper operating system integration with Android, so you can request a database from CouchDB that other apps cannot access without permission, and geo-indexing with GeoCouch. Now that GeoCouch has a branch that works in a more extensible manner, where you just have to get the proper Erlang files and add some paths to your CouchDB configuration, you can actually run that on a phone right now if you wanted to compile it yourself, but it'll be built in fairly soon. So didn't have much more than showing what you can do. It's CouchDB on a phone. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. So we've got a question, can CouchDB be substituted for TinyDB and App Inventor, or is this on the radar? Chris was actually looking at that. App Inventor is actually really extensible, and that is something that we're looking at. We haven't worked on it yet, but that should be definitely possible because App Inventor is very extensible. If the CouchDB installer doesn't show up in Android Marketplace for you, your phone might not be compatible with it. It will only show up if you have an Android 2.1 or 2.2 phone. If you have no physical phone, yes, you can actually use this with the Android emulator. The Android emulator is an emulator and emulates the whole CPU of the phone. So anything you can do on a real phone, you can do on the emulator. You have to make an emulator that emulates either Android 2.1 or 2.2 to use it. CouchDB does do some gzip compression. I don't know if that works in the replicator, but I will find out. And Twitter about it. Yes. So starting the service programmatically will be possible. That's already in code. I haven't committed it yet, but that is something that does work right now. For installing the service, you would have to show the Android market window and ask the user to download it. Or you can actually package the Android APK with your app and request that the operating system show the installer if the user has allowed non-market installs. Will CouchDB be available for iOS at some point? We're working on it. I'm working on it. There's, lots of things that make that hard, but I am working on it. Relative performance comparison with SQLite. Is it fast or faster? SQLite is a really good local store, and there's probably situations where you'd want to use SQLite over CouchDB. Where you'd want to use CouchDB is where you want sync automatically without having to write your own synchronization code. SQLite is probably what you want to use if you're storing like user preferences or anything that's not something that you're going to be syncing back and forth from the internet in a really often type of manner. As a append-only DB, CouchDB can grow. Is there a good way to limit this on the phone or recover the space on the phone? CouchDB does have a way to clean up the wasted space in the append-only database, which is CouchDB compaction. So whenever that runs, it creates a copy of the database that only contains the parts that are still active and then deletes the old one. So you can clean up the old space. But whenever it's being written to, it's on append-only, which keeps it safe. Question mark, can CouchDB be one-click installed? Yes, it's not one-click install today because that would require some size optimizations just to make it more convenient. So if right now to do a one-click install would require a bit more space on the phone, and that's something I'm waiting until we've trimmed down the install size-wise to do. What about external view servers? So external view servers work because this is a full CouchDB that uses JavaScript and the view servers in the exact same way that regular CouchDB does. I haven't looked at ASE integration yet, but it is something that is interesting. but you should be able to use those interpreters that come with ASE as long as they're the native interpreters and not the Java interpreters with CouchDB for external view servers if you do want to. Right now, CouchDB stores its files on SD, and there's not a configuration option yet. That is something that does need to be in there before we release the version that actually does OS integration with security, because storing the files on the SD card would expose them to other apps. But right now, everything is stored on SD in the developer version. So I've got a question about versioning and eventual consistency. I'm not quite getting the question. Okay, is there version tracking? So CouchDB doesn't version documents so much as use a version ID to keep track of conflicts. So if you want to recover older versions of documents, you can do that as long as compaction hasn't run. But it doesn't keep versions for recovery purposes. That is something that you can do, but only if you haven't compacted, since the version that you want to recover has become outdated. I haven't played with SQLite virtual tables in CouchDB, but there is a project that does use SQLite virtual tables to talk to CouchDB, written in Python. I don't remember the URL, but someone has worked with that. Question about battery consumption and view performance on large databases, 100,000 plus documents. On a mobile phone, you probably want to use filtered replication to only replicate a subset of your database to your phone. I mean, if your phone had the space for it, you could definitely store 100,000 plus documents. The views do take longer to generate on the phone just because it is a smaller processor and doesn't optimize quite as well for Erlang doesn't optimize quite as well on ARM as it does on desktop. But so a question about CouchDB on BlackBerry and WebOS. I'm not sure right now about where those are going. WebOS project includes DB9, their new DB8 thing, which is supposed to replicate with CouchDB, but I don't know anything about the status of that. Question about JavaScript libraries that you normally would use with CouchDB. The libraries that come with CouchDB are in Android, so anything that comes with CouchDB on the desktop comes with Android CouchDB. Browser Couch seeing any progress? Browser Couch, well, there's Browser Couch. There's a couple of Browser Couch DB projects. The probably most compelling one is the one built on top of IndexedDB, which is the new HTML5 database API. IDB Couch, which Michael Rogers worked on, Right now, IndexedDB is only available in Firefox, and I don't know when IndexedDB will actually be in other rendering engines, and it will probably be a while before that is on actual phones. But Browser Couch, or I don't know about Browser Couch, but there are working implementations of IDB Couch for Firefox. Okay. Question: what do I think the primary use for CouchDB on the Android phone? How do we go about making applications with CouchDB on Android? That's actually a lot of questions. Do you use native Android apps and connect directly, or is it something like CouchApps a possibility? Actually, you can do all of these. So right now, I showed off CouchApps in this talk, but like I said, I have the service API almost in working order to where you can actually start CouchDB from a native app. I mean, once you have CouchDB running, you can ask the native app, you can ask the service what port it's running on and connect to it with whatever Java HTTP libraries you use, and then work with your data with whatever Java JSON libraries you like. But yeah, you can definitely use it from a native app. So you can do that. I mean, you can also use CouchApps. Right now, another thing I want to do with CouchApps is have a more streamlined install process for CouchApps instead of having somebody go out and open the replicator. It'd be nice. And something that we want to do is have a way to have the service manage the CouchApps you have installed and sandbox them from each other. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. So what email privacy says about using the revision ID, that is a very internal to CouchDB thing, and isn't really meant to be used as a versioning system. It's used to keep documents and track across replication, and is really part of the guts of CouchDB, and not something that's kind of part of the CouchDB functionality for users to use. Um, well, you wouldn't want to, so replication is not going to actually preserve previous revisions. Replication essentially does the same thing as compaction, just not as efficiently, because it will ignore older revisions. Is there an Erlang shell in the Android market? Not yet, but if you do have a rooted phone, you can get to the version of Erlang that the CouchDB app does install and play with its Erlang shell. Opinion on the status of this alpha, beta, etc. This is really alpha right now. This is mostly for developers to kind of look at, get a, play with, see what they might want to use CouchDB for on a phone. There's a lot that can be done to make this really a lot more usable, a lot more streamlined. And it's just going to require some more work on my part. What type of app would be good on Android and what wouldn't? Anything that you can kind of get to work well in a mobile form factor that is a real-time data sharing application would work great. I don't know what, I mean, I guess there are some apps that really aren't good for mobile in general, but I don't know what those would be. Are there plans to add in mesh replication, for instance, something like Hawker, where you would be able to do simple replication with nearby people? That's actually interesting, because when we were at CouchCamp a couple weeks ago, in one of our unconference sessions, we had a replication party, and everybody with MacBooks booted up CouchDB and connected to each other's CouchDB using Bonjour names, which is MDNS, multicast DNS. And then started doing essentially mesh replication to each other and creating documents, which kind of bootstrapped a CouchCamp attendee profile application. That is something that's really interesting and something that I might look at in the future. Someone has written a patch to add MDNS support for couch discovery from other couches on a local network, but I don't know where that's going. But if that becomes a thing, it'll definitely get ported to the Android build, so it'll work there too. All right. If anybody has any more questions, they can hit me on email or Twitter. I'm also on the CouchDB IRC, and I can help anybody having some trouble with this early alpha. Great to have everybody here.
Hey, Aaron. Catherine here.
Rock on.
Aaron, thanks so much for the great presentation. I could tell that everyone enjoyed it by the questions that they asked. And I just want to also thank everyone else for joining us here today and for your excellent questions and comments. I think that's all we have to say. I hope you'll join us. Actually, Anna, are we going to do another webcast next month? Or Anna will let us know. We've been doing them every month, so I hope we will have the CouchDB folks back next month. Yes, good. I look forward to them. So again, thanks everyone, and I just want to remind you, sorry I sound like a broken record, but about our forecast code. It helps to support free webcasts, so we're all for it. Thanks, Marcy. And it gets you 40% off print books, 50% off ebooks on O'Reilly.com. It's a great deal. So, and we'll get the recording out to you in a day or two, and that's about it. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Marcy. And thank you, everyone who joined us today. Talk to you again soon. Bye.